Hey, I'm back again doing another video for ASP.NET Core. So as you know, I'll be doing a series of videos about ASP.NET Core. So feel free to subscribe to me if you want to learn with me. If you want to also make progress, I'll be talking about code. Somewhere along the lines, I'm also going to be sharing code where you can actually see some sample use cases that I'm going to be typing up. But for this video specifically, I'm going to talk about the ASP.NET Core and what's part of the ASP.NET Core to get a holistic view of what ASP.NET Core is. As you all know, ASP.NET Core is a platform that helps you write web applications, right? So you can create pages that has HTML, the content. So there are many ways to create HTML pages, right? You can create a SPA application. You can use Angular, React, or Vue, or you can use all of these to create a single page style web application, right? And it could be a static site, or it could have a dynamic website where you can call an API to get the data, right? So, and you can use Node.js applications. There's PHP applications, and there are Python. So there's so many different frameworks and languages out there that help you build the web applications. But again, the scope of this is limited to ASP.NET Core. So ASP.NET Core is one of those web development frameworks that will help you create HTML pages, right? The web development pages. So ASP.NET Core, even within ASP.NET Core, there are many different ways of producing the web pages. Right? So if you look at the history, we had web forms, right? Nobody uses that anymore. Everybody has transitioned from web forms to MVC a long time ago. MVC stands for Model View Controller, right? So the main benefit of using MVC, and still is separation of concerns. So separation of concerns is nicely handled by MVC. Now, alongside MVC, now we have a couple different technologies at this point. So we have Blazor that's new coming up, right? There's server-side Blazor, there's client-side Blazor, which is also called WebAssembly. And then we also have Razor Pages, right? So Razor Pages is basically another style of building web applications. It kind of what I would like to say, you put the code and the content together, right? It's kind of like React to some extent, right? So when it's kind of a little bit of a tangent here. So when Angular was first, it's got its hype. It's also around separation of concerns, right? You have the component file, and then you have the spec file, and then you have uh, the style sheet and the HTML template. All of these are nicely separated for a given component. But React kind of mixes everything up. I'm not saying I'm against React. I'm just saying it's a different style of programming. Maybe it's functional stuff, right? So everything has its pros and cons. Both are popular frameworks. So just like that, in ASP.NET Core, you have the traditional MVC style, and there's also the Razor Pages, and then obviously you have SPA support using Blazor, right? So these are just the frameworks that basically help you build the client portion of the web application, right? But under the hood, there's a lot of stuff going on. The ASP.NET Core framework itself is huge. It has a lot of other things like dependency injection, right? EF Core. It has authentication steps. It has authorization policies. Um, it has the routing built into it, right? Um, and some support for security. So all of these are also part of the overall process, right? So you can't build a complete application without knowing the platform features, what ASP.NET Core framework offers, not just from a web perspective, from a client-facing perspective, but under the hood, you got to understand how each of these features work. If you don't know what DI is, and if you don't know how ASP.NET Core solves the DI problem, then probably you're not utilizing the framework in the right way. Same thing with URL routing. There's different styles of routing, right? And SignalR is also catching attention because when we do server-side Blazor, right? By the way, Blazor is a technology, where you don't have to use JavaScript to develop single page style applications. You can write code with C#, right? And you can still produce a a single page style application. So that's Blazor, and it can be achieved in two different ways: server side or client side. Server side means you write all your code, and it's all sitting on the server, not on the browser. And that code, including the content and the application logic, all that will be transferred to the browser using SignalR, right? But you don't interface with SignalR directly, but that's what the technology is. The second is client-side Blazor, also called WebAssembly. That's a technology where you execute the C# on the browser directly, right? It's moving it even closer to the user. So that's the main difference between the two. And then there's another thing called gRPC, which is also kind of new and it's part of the ASP.NET Core as well. But gRPC, well, it's a Google's, right? The G is, I think it's Google. So it could be like a standard for web services, but I don't think the browsers are fully supporting that. So it's a different, if you have to use it, you can use it, but there are many alternatives to using gRPC. And it's probably too early to talk, I think, get into the details of gRPC. It's still like an evolving standard, even for web services. Right? So it's mainly for the backend purposes, right? If you want to communicate like a server-to-server communication, yeah, if you can use a gRPC style communication. But that's so these are all the platform features, right? So and I also talked about Entity Framework, right? Entity Framework is the ORM technology that Microsoft uses in their ASP.NET Core. And not just for ASP.NET Core, any .NET Core application can use Entity Framework to access a database, right? It could be SQL database. It could be I think it has support for Cosmos database, Azure Cosmos database, but it's mainly Microsoft technologies, right? So that's the Microsoft version of the ORM. So this is kind of what's part of the ASP.NET Core, the framework, right? So we're going to dig deeper in the future sessions as I make these videos.